Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 7, which is going to be the first part of the second problem set. So we'll go ahead and actually call it problem set 2, part 1. You are going to be using data file number 7 for this. And in this part, we are going to be looking at the VLOOKUP function. VLOOKUP is a very popular function in Excel. It returns a certain value based on a table of several values. It looks up one thing in a list and then returns something else. And what's going on with this one in your raw data set here and what we've got created here are a number of students and their scores in various subjects. And so you'll be given the subjects, the names, the grades that they've got, and then what you'll be creating is a list here wherein you can select any of the students' names, a list here wherein you can select any of the subject names, and then by using a particular function here, you'll have it return their score. So if I wanted to know what Dan's score in physics was, it's a 99, and we can see where Dan and physics meets is a 99. So that's what we're going to be working on today. Let's get started. So in general, we have, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be just typing in the name of one of the students, and I'm going to show you the basics of a VLOOKUP. And you're going to be extrapolating on that to create lists for it to reference instead. But let's look at the basic, what a basic VLOOKUP does. So we'll start by typing the equal sign like we do with any other formula. VLOOKUP, it's actually the only one that starts with VL. So there it is, double click it. And the lookup value. So the lookup value, let's say that I'm not using any references here. I'm not using a reference to this cell that says Brad. If I wanted to look up a value from a table somewhere, I could type the name of that. If it's letters, I could open up parentheses and type that person's name. Brad, close my parentheses. If it was a number, I could just type the number. So we're looking up Brad, and then we're going to type comma. So that's the lookup value is Brad. The table array is going to be the entirety of the table, not the headers. So we're going to take from Brad all the way down to this 98 on E12, or wherever you've got your setup. You might have it more centered on your page. It might not be these exact cell numbers and names. So that's the table array. Then the index number. So VLOOKUP looks a little bit different, works a little bit different than some of the other formulas in that it's not going to reference, biology or physics or math. Instead, the index number is going to be which column, starting with the first one being column 1. So column A is column 1, math is column 2, physics is 3, chemistry is 4, biology is 5. If I wanted it to look up Brad's score on biology, that's going to be the 5th column. So the index number is going to be the number 5 here. That's going to look up Brad and then look to the 5th column of that entire table and find biology. Then for some functions, you might want to use an approximate match to that, wherein it does an estimation or uses surrounding values. In our case, for this part of the assignment, we're just going to use the value 0. 0 is false, and what that means is that it always needs to be an exact match. We just want it to look up exactly what's in that cell and return exactly that value. No estimations or any kind of other calculations on that. And then if we close the parentheses, we're going to get 87. So this is just a hard-coded, if you will, not referencing this cell that says Brad on it. It is just looking for the name Brad in this entire table, and if it finds Brad, giving us the value from the 5th column. Now, if I were to change that 5 to say a 3, 1, 2, 3, physics is in the 3rd column, so it should give us Brad's physics score, which is a 91, and indeed it does. Great. So now let's say we wanted to do something a little bit better as far as a functional spreadsheet goes. We could replace this Brad in the formula with a parentheses with whatever value is in this cell. So instead of the lookup value being Brad in parentheses, I just click on this cell, and now it's going to look up whatever value is in that cell from that column and return the third line, right? And why that's important is maybe I want to look up Greg's. Now I type in Greg to that one spot, and it gives us Greg's physics score. Or I want to look up Bob's physics, or let's say Stan's physics score, which should be a 93. I type in Stan, and it does the same thing. So we're a little bit better now, but we can do this even better. We can make, and what you'll see here, our drop-down list, where I can select the students. That way I don't accidentally type the student's name wrong. I don't accidentally type Barb instead of Brad, or Don instead of Dan, and I don't get the result I want. By making a list, we can ensure that the only thing in that cell are set in stone with the exact values we wanted to show up. So let's start by making a list right here. And this list is going to be our subjects, okay? So if we go to the data tab at the top, you should see the term data validation. And if you don't see data validation, it's because you probably are on a smaller screen, like a laptop screen. And so data validation is going to be shrunk down. You might have to click on the word data tools to expand this section. That's true of a lot of Excel functions. If you can't find it when you know it should be on the formulas tab or the insert tab, it's usually because this little mark right here, like charts or add-ins, is what you can click on if you're on a smaller screen, and then it'll expand everything, give you all the options that are normally in here on a larger screen like I'm working on. So we're going to go to data validation, and what we want to show up here is not any value, where I could just type any value. I could type biology, math, or something else. Instead, I want a list. And the list, I'm going to click down here, and the list I want to show up is going to be one of these four terms, either math, physics, chemistry, or biology. If I hit OK, now you can see, well, I've got a list. Perfect. But, and let's just put one of them in. Let's put physics in right here. But I haven't changed my VLOOKUP yet. And with the VLOOKUP, it's always looking for a specific column. And so when we're writing our formula, our table's good, our reference to G4 here, where Stan's listed, is good. But when I'm writing my table, I need it to show the column. And so instead of this 3, I'm going to use another formula. And this function is called match. And with match, it is going to effectively look like it's going to look up the relative value. So meaning column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Excel will read it as that, even though it's referencing this this area right here. So what I want is for the lookup value to just be whatever is right here, and then basically I'm doing like a mini VLOOKUP inside of the VLOOKUP. So I'm going to type in match. The lookup value is here. The lookup array is going to be these 5 headers, including the word name, even though it's not part of the list. But I want to keep the columns the same. I want to keep name as the first column, math, physics, chemistry, biology as the next one. So that's the, oops, I didn't put my comma yet. So lookup value is right here, this cell, whatever's in that cell, which is a list we created, comma, the lookup array are these 5 here, comma, and then for this, again, we're going to hit exact match. We want it to be exactly that column. So once again, we're going to type 0 for the match type. Close our parentheses, and then hit enter. And now, if I change this list, we can see Stan is right here, 63, 93, 82, 79. Now, if I change to math, I'm going to get 63 for Stan. And if I change to chemistry, same thing. So your challenge for this is to create a function wherein via 2 different drop-down lists, and there's not a drop-down list here. You're going to need to create one here. Wherein there's a drop-down list here and a drop-down list here. Again, I did not do that as part of the video. That'll be your challenge to do. And remember, it's under data validation. That's how we make lists. If I select chemistry and I select Amy that I get this value. Amy, chemistry, I would get 85. But basically, same thing here. If I select Amy and chemistry, I get an 85. So that's your challenge. Make two separate lists referencing the name here and the subject here, and some sort of additional formatting. So for stylistic, subjective grading part of it, this is very clear which ones are color coded to be subject, which ones are the name, whether you want to have that header there or not. The scores are a different value. So this is one way of doing it. I'm interested to see what you guys come up with as far as other ways to present this information. But the main takeaway is a VLOOKUP formula here that will always return whatever's in the subject list and whatever's in the name list, and also that subject and name can be selected from lists. All right, guys, I look forward to seeing what you come up with, and I will see you in the 8th data set. So problem set 2, part 2 is coming up next.